Good evening, America. Today I would like to talk with you about the international relations during my presidency through the 1980s. Major topics I will cover are the Iran hostage crisis, the Iran-Contra scandal, the end of the Cold War, and China. Also, President Bush will be here to talk about the Persian Gulf War. On January 20th, 1981, 51 American hostages were released from their 444 days of captivity. In November of 1979, Iranian armed students invaded the embassy of the U.S. and took them hostage. The students did this because the U.S. had allowed the overthrown Shah of Iran into the U.S. for cancer treatment.
Get on the ground. You're going with me.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Me. No questions. Alright, you can go free.
Kenny, they let me go.
Nice free.
A very controversial event during my presidency was the Iran-Contra scandal. In 1983, Iranian terrorists took 7 American hostage in Lebanon. As a way to negotiate their freedom, members of the government agreed to sell weapons to Iran. This money then went to Nicaragua to aid the Contras in their conflict with the Sandinistas.
Can you please let the hostages go?
No, send me some weapons first, then I'll let them go.
Fine. Let me tell you a secret.
Okay.
I know Congress doesn't fund you, but I got some money for you.
Gracias, senor.
I have been thought to have had something to do with the scandal, but these rumors are not true. The most important event of my presidency and the 1980s was the end of the Cold War. After years of bad relations with the Soviet Union, negotiations with General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev have resulted in the conclusion of the Cold War. Mr. Gorbachev used the policies of glasnost and perestroika to reform Soviet policies. He moved the country away from communism and towards democracy. This gave Soviet citizens more freedom. Also, the INF Treaty that Mr. Gorbachev and I both signed eliminated 2 classes of nuclear weapon systems and allowed on-site inspections of each side's nuclear weapons. We have video footage over me and Mr. Gorbachev negotiating. Hello, Mr. Gorbachev.
Hello, President Reagan. How are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Not bad.
Good. So why did you call me over here to this meeting?
Well, I'd like to propose that we get rid of all our nuclear weapons.
Alright, I agree, but how do you propose we do that?
Well, I was thinking you get rid of all your nuclear weapons and your SDI program. In return, I'll get rid of all my nuclear weapons.
I can't do that. You know how much that costs?
Fine. Hello, President Reagan.
Hello, Mr. Gorbachev.
Well, we consulted with our advisors, and we come up with another plan for you.
What's that?
Well, we decided that we're going to get rid of all our nuclear weapons, and in return, you just have to get rid of all your nuclear weapons. You can keep your SDI program.
Oh, that sounds good.
Very good.
Good. Glad we could compromise. I would also like to talk to the American public about the student protests in China's Tiananmen Square. In April of 1989, students began demanding freedom of speech and a larger voice in government. After weeks of protest, the Chinese government sent soldiers and tanks in to stop the protests. Many protesters and local residents were injured or killed. One man, though, took a heroic stand in front of a row of tanks.
Move! Get out the way!
This concludes my recap of international relations in the 80s. President Bush will now say a few words about the recent Persian Gulf War.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. As you know, the Persian Gulf War began when Iraq's dictator Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Hussein claimed that Kuwait was part of Iraq, and he needed Kuwait's oil to repay his war debts from his war with Iran. When Hussein started to head towards Saudi Arabia as well, we knew we had to act. I launched Operation Desert Storm in early 1991. This operation was a big success, and we sustained very minor losses while being able to push Hussein back into Iraq. Here's a video clip of some of the fighting that happened during the Persian Gulf War.
In the early hours of January the 17th, 1991, hundreds of coalition aircraft took to the skies and headed for their targets. Operation Desert Storm had begun. From the rooftops of Baghdad, 3,000 anti-aircraft guns fired into the night. Flying straight into this wall of fire were 8 American bombers. The stealth's first target was the main communications tower in Baghdad. At exactly 3 a.m., the pilot in the lead aircraft pushed the button and a 2,000-pound laser-guided bomb descended on its target.
There's a feeling of excitement buzzing around, which I'm sure you can feel. I'm really looking forward to getting out into the desert and working alongside the American Marines.
Clearly, the 1980s were a very turbulent time in terms of international relations. Hopefully, now that the Cold War has ended, the future will be more peaceful.